Welcome everyone to another edition of Weekcap. This is your host, Clay D, the one and only, and the wonderful, talented Mr. Greer Webb. How you doing this morning, sir?
I'm doing well. It's good to see you. Happy Saturday.
Absolutely. Same here. Same here. So let's get right on to it because there's always we never have enough time. So let's just right
That's right.
there. So everything is happening all at once. I mean, literally where you are right now and where I am right now in North Carolina and where you are in Georgia, you literally had 404 Day in Atlanta, which I did not even know was really a holiday. I've heard it. I've seen it like in other years, but it was more like a hashtag. I didn't know it was there were like actual events that surround it. But apparently, yeah, it's like, okay, I did not know that. That's why I jokingly texted you happy 404 day
Yeah,
yesterday.
for people who don't know, yesterday was April 4th, 404, and the area code down here in Atlanta, Georgia is 404. So people call it 404 Day. I think people had some parties and some gatherings yesterday. And yeah, I didn't really celebrate it technically, but I was aware that it was being celebrated. And I had a good day yesterday. So.
Yeah. We too busy to be celebrating. We can only afford to observe and acknowledge.
Right, the official holidays.
Yeah, and also over here, of course, in North Carolina, we have everything going at once. Dreamville, hands off, full frame, inaugural ball, which I totally forgot about because it was postponed from January. The
Right,
inauguration of Governor Josh Stein, for those who are wondering what the heck I'm talking about, and Dreamville Festival, which is a R&B hip hop festival annually here in North Carolina every year. That's taking place in Raleigh. Supposedly, this is the last year. I say supposedly because now they're saying they might just rebrand it.
right.
Those poor people coming all the way out here thinking it's the last one, just for y'all to say, right, y'all
It
know
starts
what.
today, right?
Yeah, 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 absolutely. So I'm gonna be streaming it from the Amazon River, aka Amazon Prime. And
There
of
you go.
course, your beloved Dookies. I'm playing it
It
tonight.
always happens that way, Clay, that
Yeah,
the Final Four is the same time as Dreamville, and Duke or
yeah,
Carolina or NC State last year is always in it. So you
exactly.
always have people trying to, look at the phones or something.
Yeah. And what was the last time? What was the last time y'all were in the Final Four? I'm joking. Let me leave you alone.
It wasn't that
I
long
like
ago
Guitar Hero,
now.
FYI. I just like to joke about it. It was only 3 years ago. So
That's
hey,
right.
better than most programs. So hey, you'll take that.
I'll take it for sure. And we
So
just got to do, I'm jumping ahead here, but we just got to do big man, a new recruit. And so it looks like they're saying Carolina might be okay next year, even though we're losing RJ Davis. Uh,
yeah. But
and we lost Seth Trimble to the
you
transfer
think
portal. So
you think Hubie is in danger?
I don't know. I think if he doesn't do well next year, he is, but I'm sure he's going to be around next year. Otherwise, they would have fired him already.
That's true. But you got football season to look up to for the first time, probably really ever.
Right.
I'm
That's
definitely
true.
gonna be a Tar Heel supporter when that comes around for certain.
Yes,
Supporter
sir.
of UNC and Colorado since Coach Prime is still there and he didn't take the Cowboys job, which in hindsight was probably a smart move because
Right.
the Cowboys are just one big dumpster fire of an org of a
True.
operational organization.
That's
Like they're
true.
great. They're great with branding and marketing, but terrible when it comes to football operations. That's for sure. But
Yeah, totally agree.
yeah, so let's get into politics news.
Okay.
Because I'm procrastinating because we all know what the big headlines were. So I'm gonna go more into electoral politics in this case. So former Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms kind of sorta officially said she's running for governor. Georgia student may have a governor named Keisha. And it was, yeah. Well, when
It-
she became mayor, that was kind of the running stick that, oh, Atlanta now has a mayor named Keisha. So exactly. Well, we there was a Kasim, then there was a Keisha, then there was a Andre. So Atlanta's been doing pretty good with culture.
Yes,
What do you think? Yeah, what do you
it's
think about that?
it's interesting. I don't know. I think we briefly touched on it a few weeks ago when we were trying to figure out if she was going to run for sure. I know we also talked about Representative Lucy McBath, who formed an exploratory committee, and now she's backed out. She's a congressperson, represents Georgia, black woman, became prominent after her son was killed due to gun violence, and she became a gun violence prevention advocate. She announced earlier this week that she was dropping out because her husband has cancer and she wants to work through that with him. And so Keisha Lance Bottoms has become, I guess, the main black woman and I guess one of the main Democrats to take on the Republican. The current governor of Georgia, Brian Kemp, I believe is term limited, so he cannot run again. And so
Yeah,
I think it'll be interesting to see what happens with Keisha. As I said on here before, I don't think she's going to win, just given the trajectory that Georgia is trending, as well as the fact that, as you mentioned on that call, a lot of Atlantans didn't even like her. So if you can't get all of Atlanta to agree, how are you going to get these moderate rural places in Georgia, of which there are many, to agree with her personality and her policies? We know that both of those
yeah,
things play into a political
absolutely.
campaign. So those are my thoughts. What do you think? I mean, I know you remember the old Keisha, if you will,
Yeah,
before she started working for the Biden administration. Do you think
yeah.
she could do it?
Question is, can she get at her primary? Yes. I don't think Stacey Abrams is going to run.
No, I
I
don't think
haven't
so.
seen, heard otherwise. Otherwise, we would have known by now. That's just how I feel on that. If you ain't heard nothing, it means ain't nothing going to happen. Lucy McBath, that would have been something to watch out for. Um, Jason Carter, haven't heard nothing. I was gonna Google, but I meant to do that. But again, my rule is if you ain't heard about it, if you have to Google, that means it ain't nothing going down. Typically, that's kind of my rule of thumb on things. If I have to ask questions or figure it out, then it ain't happening.
Right.
Obviously, probably still more, loss of his grandfather, reasonably so, or probably just not interested purely. So given all of that, I feel if it's just her and some lesser known no name ID candidates, then yeah, she could win a primary. I'd like to know who, and I have to do this when I get a moment, unless someone wants to check in real time. Who are the possible contenders declared or not declared or possible on the GOP side? Um, I wonder if Purdue will go at it again. Purdue. Eh, again, if I ain't heard about it, then somebody's got to run. Not unless
Right.
the Secretary of State is going to go for it, kind of like what Kemp did.
Yeah. I'm
So
looking
we'll
now.
see.
So the current Secretary of State, who kind of bucked Trump, Brad Raffensperger, they said he's probably not going to
Yeah.
run. The main two are Burt Jones, who's the current Lieutenant Governor of Georgia, and then Chris Carr, who's the current Georgia Attorney General. And I think he's already declared. So he would be the front runner right now. And then again, on this list as someone who has expressed interest is Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Okay. I
So
mean,
go figure.
yeah. I mean, look, that's a considerate source, but I mean, heck, the way things are going, maybe I'm not going to rule that out. But she has better name ID than the other folks,
Right, correct.
except for
Raffensperger.
burger, only because more negatively. So I don't even know if that's even good. But I mean, if we're just talking
True.
about within Georgia politics, I mean, who will get national funding? Who will get national donations? It would be Marjorie Taylor. Of course, Trump loves to back his people.
He
So
does. He
there's
does.
that part to it too. So it just seems like nobody really wants this job just right now. And this is
Right.
about the time you should really, this day and age, this is about the time you should really start going after it. If nobody's going for it, then it just seems like we have a default, we have a default election campaign. So,
Right. Yeah, it's very weird. It's very weird. And another interesting political story, real quick,
yeah.
because I just saw it's made national news now. It was on CNN, actually. What do you think about this bill in the North Carolina legislature that your senator there in Durham, Natalie Murdoch, is pushing to make Raise Up by Petey Pablo North Carolina's official song?
I'm glad you brought that up. Look, These eggs are too doggone high. Actually, they're not that high to me, but I'm just saying we got bigger things to worry about than a
I
song.
agree with you, man. I
Hey,
agree with
listen, I'm normally the first person who get a kick out of this, but I don't have time to be getting a kick out of these things right now. I mean, we got a mess out there. If we don't try to do anything real, it's got God help us all.
you. Right.
I mean, the song's not going to fix economic issues. I don't mean to sound like the old guy because I never thought I'd be this way, but that's just the truth. I mean, it's a cool story to generate clicks and views, but okay, this is why I probably don't get invited to many things these days, but hey, whatever. That's why I appreciate you every week because you're consistent. But and you can get my perspective on a lot of things. But the thing about it is we have politicians out there today. I'm getting a little fired up now.
Go
Well,
for
all they want is I'm not gonna cuss because you a pastor, you a young man
it.
who want all these bleeping clicks and views like Jasmine Crockett. I want folks to actually put some real meaningful stuff out there. I don't want no more influencers. I'm done with influencers now. I'm getting angry too. That
I
that's
feel
that's
you.
that's the thing. So even we'll talk about Jazz. I'm gonna use this opportunity to bring up Jasmine Crockett in this case, and I'm gonna go back over to North Carolina. You know, the governor Hot Wheels. Look, I ain't trying to get in all that, but again, I see you doing your IG lives and everything. You say you're for the people, you say you're for us, but I just see you becoming more and more of a celebrity. That again, all, I don't want no more social media famous people trying to run our politics, run our systems. We got actual things that have to get done. We got too many
Right.
people just in it just to be celebrities or be popular
Yeah.
people. I've said this to you before, Greer. If I haven't said it before, I'm going to say it more and more abundantly clear now. People get mad at me when I say it. And again, this is a departure from how I used to think. So this is actually has a lot of this has a lot of meaning to it. I don't believe we should be celebritizing politicians. I don't want politicians to be celebrities anymore. That way, I don't sound like a hypocrite. Your job as a politician is to probate, administrate, and legislate, and any other verb we could throw in there. I don't want people trying to make a brand off that. Then people are going to say to me, "Well, you don't have a problem with Trump doing." I have look. I have a problem with that. If people think that somehow I'm a defense of Trump, no, no. What I say is he won because of these reasons. That don't make it right. That's what people often
Right.
confuse. If I explain how a man has changed the course of politics and has won elections, does not mean I agree with the man or vote with him. That does not mean that. It means that this is how he got people captivated through social media, and for better or for worse. And I have the same critique of former President Obama in the same regard. Same thing. I don't want no politicians being celebrities, just like I don't want celebrities being politicians, and vice versa.
Right.
I'm done with it now. I want people to get stuff done. And kudos to now I will give credit where credit's due. Natalie Murdoch did introduce, now you can fact this in real time. The reason why I'm not doing because I don't want this to crash. So if you could do that, that's great.
I got you.
Minimum wage or a thriving wage of 22 to $27 an hour. I'm like, okay, now we talking.
Right.
Now. And people are gonna go, well, can that pass? Hey, you trying?
Right. Yeah,
Because
she's great. I mean, this I think is one of those just kind of fun things to do, but Senator Murdoch does get that business done. I mean, she's super supportive of young people in Durham, but also to your point, she's really focused on economic issues. She's filed bills and supported bills when it comes to Black maternal health.
yeah.
So these are all things, right, that I would love to see Jasmine Crockett doing. And I know that she has her name on a few bills, but I wanted to ask you, how do you distinguish between popularizing yourself, right? Making yourself more popular so you can be elected and becoming a celebrity, because I could see that, because I agree with you, but I can see that pushback even with Obama or with others, with people that are up and coming. How do you not make yourself a celebrity, but still get your name out there and have people like you?
So here's the thing. Perfect question. There's a time to campaign and there's a time to govern. See, when you're campaigning, I'm for it when you're campaigning because you have to get the name out. the way our system is set up, we're not the UK. We don't have a parliamentary system. So we
Right.
have to run campaigns like we run a business. So I am for doing what you got to do when you campaign. Now, when you do campaign, you do talk about your politics, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, what you want to do. So I'm all for that. But when you actually get elected, when you swear on that Bible or whatever it is, it's time to govern. You have to govern straight up. You have to govern and you have to have a good communication strategy. But at the end of the day, you have to govern, you have to legislate, you have to co-sponsor bills, do all those things or administrate, depending on what your elected position is. That's how I feel on that. And I don't necessarily like it when you're constantly in a perpetual campaign mode. Don't worry about the next election. Just do what you got to do now. If you're good enough, you're going to get reelected. That's how I feel on that. So everybody who does, well, I want to run for reelection, I probably shouldn't do this. Nah, we need to stop. We need to stop worrying about being likable and start doing things. That's just how I
Good.
feel on that. It's okay. I think we just need to normalize being it's good being, we should normalize being a good one-term elected official or appointed official. We should normalize that because when we start adding in, maybe this is a conversation for term limits too, but in certain seats or wherever. But when we get to a point where we have to always worry about another election, we don't act accordingly because again we're trying to run popularity contests while we're in office because we don't want to get primaried, we don't want to, lose we don't want to lose donors and everything like that, and it just messes everything up. So this is how I feel on that. I kind of went off there.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that's good. Let's get to the main story that I think you were um, alluding to, which is I'm going to call it because I think this is an effective messaging strategy, these Trump tariffs and the way that I think it's 60 or more countries have now had a tariff imposed upon them. It's going to take certain prices up here in this country. They say it's a strategy and it's going to have these other countries come into compliance. It's going to bring manufacturing and other jobs back to America, even though we're imposing tariffs on countries that are only inhabited by penguins. So, what do you think about these Trump tariffs? What do you think about the current economic forecast in this country? A lot of people are throwing around the R word. By that, I mean recession. And
Yeah.
they say that prices are going to continue rising because Trump is, attacking these other countries, including our neighbors to the north and south, Canada and Mexico, who are not having it at all. What do you think about all this?
So there's a macro perspective and there's a micro perspective on this, and there's a cultural and a sociological perspective to this that I'm going to expound upon. Um, Macro, look, he's doing exactly what he said he was going to do on a campaign trail. So kudos to him on that because he's doing exactly what he said he would do, and we knew that. So whether we chose to vote or not vote, we have to live with that. Um, so I'm not trying to give 92% energy, but that's just the situation of that. Tariffs, look, that's a whole political, socio-political, and economical conversation to have. Don't want to consume a lot of time getting into the weeds of the percentages and the counter tariffs and everything like that, because we that literally will be this will become an economics lecture, and yeah, we don't really just have the bandwidth for that in this segment. I will say this though. Um, He he has two strategies. He either wants to be the Joker and see just the world burn, and slash or he's trying to make his rich billionaire friends, buddies, or allies richer by causing a recession. Um, if any smart person knows that doing this is just going to result in bad news and bad consequences. But they ask him and they ask the administration, they all can't even give a straight answer. Well, what's the upside? Well, everything's going to be American made. We're going to bring back jobs. So there's no simple rationale. And when your simple answer is a is an algebra problem, I mean, come on. So if everybody has a different story, that tells me exactly what I need to know. He's trying to crash and burn this country and this world for his benefits, for which I can't psychoanalyze and whatnot. And we're just bearing witness to it. And we're ticking everybody off. I mean, heck, he's even ticking penguins off. Like, what did the penguins do to you now for crying out for crying out loud? But that's how I feel on it. Now on the micro on the micro level, on a social economic level, they're telling us to panic buy. I told you before on the show, I'm not going to give too much into the scare tactics. I'm not trying to sound like a social media person, a naive person. I've said to you previously that, no matter who's in office, you still got bills to pay.
Right,
You still have to go about your business. And I've learned that, whatever's going to happen is what's going to happen. And, but God's got us. God's got me. God's got you, just like he has for us and our people in the past. Now,
right,
the problem with the media, and especially a lot of folks sitting from the ivory towers who kind of want a recession to happen, even people who look like us and who vote like us, who want to keep on scaring us with these tactics. And even if you go on LinkedIn, look, people were complaining about recessions last year under the Biden administration. They were complaining about it a couple of years ago. People have been fussing about inflation. I've come to the ultimate conclusion, Greer, that there really is no golden era of an economy. You might have had times. Now, I'm not saying that, the Great Recession didn't happen. I'm not going to talk like that, but you got to do what you got to do no matter what the economy is. That's just what I'm
that's
saying.
right,
Fine.
that's right.
And we cried wolf so many times when in the last couple of administrations, especially the Biden administration, about inflation's high, this, that. We're going to a recession. Now we actually have a real threat of one. And now you're kind of are making people numb. So the problem is that we cry wolf too many times, and we do this in our politics too, that when we actually face a real threat to democracy or threat to our economy, we become numb to it.
Yeah,
That's just my feeling on that. Now, on the what can we do collective action side as engaged citizens is do what Cory Booker did, what he did the other day. Um, and I might not have the exact number, but 19 to 25 straight hours on the Senate floor without using the bathroom. And good grief, I can't even do that. I mean,
I couldn't do it either.
16 hours.
I mean, let's talk about that though. Do you
Yeah,
think
let's
that
do
was
it.
an effective way to protest? Do you think that made a difference, or even if it didn't make a difference, is that the type of action we need?
We do, absolutely. So I'm perfectly for what he did because the Democrats haven't been showing a backbone. And I'm not talking about just holding up signs at the joint session of Congress or that de facto State of the Union address. We need that. That's what I would like to see someone like Jasmine Crockett, my favorite person, do. I mean, I want to see that more across the board
Right.
of just those type of bold actions. Now, you might say it didn't result in nothing, but look, even the Bernie AOC rallies are effective. So those things are exactly what we need out there. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I like what he did at a basic level. I think that's an effective form of protest. He had to sacrifice, right, personally, and I think he was making good points. Just the historic nature of the fact that he broke the record of Strom Thurmond, senator from South Carolina, who was racist and in favor of segregation, and that's what he was speaking about. Cory Booker was speaking about the total opposite, right? Racial justice and the way that we need to stand up to this administration, economic equality. And he was talking about everything under the sun because he had to keep talking for all those hours. And so I think what he did was effective. I think it showed that people are still paying attention to what's going on and they're not super, most Americans are not in favor of all of this craziness that Trump and Elon Musk, Vice President Musk, because I don't know what JD Vance is doing these days, are doing. You know, they're having car sales on the front lawn of the White House, and then they're putting tariffs on everything, and it's going to make cars more expensive here in the short term. And all those manufacturing jobs that they're saying are coming back are not. We're in a different type of economy. Things are automated now. We've got robots. So if you want robots to come and take your jobs, then I guess be in favor of these tariffs. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. People are, what's the word I could use here? Desensitized to the craziness. And I think that's part of the problem. We're so desensitized to the drama and to the exaggeration, the hyperbole. And so people are, uh, I don't think they're confused, but they're just tapped out, right? And we have to lock in, to use a word of the day. And we have to figure out, okay, how can we help our communities? How can we keep moving forward? How can we grow and change for the better? We can't just all sit around because we know that's going to impact marginalized people more negatively. And so I don't think these tariffs are a good idea. I don't have an economic background per se, but I know that tariffs in the short term cause inflation. And so, if we're not sure to get the end result of these tariffs, whether it's more manufacturing jobs or whatever, then we don't need to be imposing them carte blanche on all of these countries and making it harder for folks to achieve the American dream, which we know is already harder for more marginalized Americans. So, those are my thoughts on that. I think it's another tactic by Trump to, puff his chest out and show that he's in control. Then I saw this morning, and somebody could fact check me in the comments maybe, that China, Japan, and South Korea, or like Japan, South Korea, and North Korea, are now forming an economic alliance to go against the West because of actions like these tariffs that Trump is imposing on so many countries. I mean, what? North Korea and South Korea, if that is correct, uniting? I mean, that hasn't happened in decades, maybe even centuries. And so we need to get back to the basics, which are making sure that Americans can afford things, making sure that Americans are protected, making sure that we are protected from other countries, yes, but not ticking those other countries off. And so at the end of the day, those are my thoughts generally. And I think specifically these tariffs are going to make it harder for black and brown folks, for young folks like you, like me, to build wealth. And I think that is the next step, the next pillar of the civil rights movement is a movement for economic justice and equity. And if we can't build wealth, it's very hard for that to happen.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you on that. What do you think of the special elections that took place this past week in Wisconsin and in Florida? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so Florida, I guess we knew it was going to go that way. Wisconsin was more interesting to me because, for those who don't know, that was a judicial race. Elon Musk invested a lot of money, state Supreme Court race, I believe. Elon Musk invested a lot of money into the race, and the Democrat ended up winning. It was a woman, and she won. And so to
Susan
just hear
Crawford.
her
Yep.
talk, Susan Crawford, thank you. To see Judge Crawford talking afterward and talking about how she, had, I believe, a small town or just kind of average background and upbringing, and then rose to the Supreme Court, and now she defeated in this race the richest man in the world. I think it was a cool story. I think it shows that people don't really care for Elon Musk. And it shows that there is still some level of common sense out there in this country. And so, for Democrats or even independent folks, I want us to really latch on to that common sense and act on it, right? That's the key. Don't just talk about it, but act on it. And I think she ran a great race. I was glad to see her defeat Elon Musk. What about you?
Yeah, I was a little surprised by that, but that she won. But hey, look, people rallied. Kudos to them. The boots on the ground definitely came into play. It shows that you can out organize big money. So which is what we saw. That's how I feel on that. So we just gotta continue this momentum with Virginia races and New Jersey races and the NYC mayoral race.
Yeah,
And
now
I
that
just
one is interesting to me.
yeah,
Eric Adams, right, is now an independent. He switched. He's not a
yeah.
Democrat. And you got Andrew Cuomo. So we touched on it, but I know the uh, Reverend Al Sharpton's organization, National Action Network, is having their annual
Funny. It's actually on right now on mute.
big
Yeah,
convention. Oh, wow. So they're having their big convention, and they had a mayoral discussion yesterday. I mean, I think I said on the show already, I think Andrew Cuomo is going to win. But what do you make of Eric Adams, switching around, going with the wind? And what do you think about, the political climate going into 2026 because we'll be there
Yeah,
before we know it.
absolutely, for sure. Yeah, I'm not surprised he became independent. I thought he was going to switch to being a Republican, quite frankly. His case, federal case, was dismissed too. Just some breaking news on that, but I
Yep.
think he has a chance to win. I think it's going to be Cuomo, just all the way, whether you like him or not. I know he's a very polarizing figure nationally and even more polarizing within the state of New York. But the field, it's just like I said when we were kind of talking about Georgia, who are the other folks? I mean, I know who the other names of the other folks, but the lesser known names and name ID is going to really matter. It doesn't matter if you like the person or not. The name ID is just going to win the day because you're going to get the national dollars and people are going to vote with familiarity. That's why I kind of will say Keisha Lance Bottoms could win at least the primary. The Democratic nomination and such, because I don't think anybody wants that job. If nobody's going to want the job, even in New York, then, and Adams is he's just too tainted at this point. He-
Right.
I'm
I
surprised he
think he's
even won the
goofy,
first
but
time. The first time
tainted is a
around.
better word.
Yeah. But I think Reverend Al made a big mistake by backing him the last time around.
I agree.
I
I
thought
don't
that
know
was a
why
big.
he did that. I really don't.
Yeah, I will still never get that to this day. I mean, you have Maya Wiley, and at least Andrew Wayne was who I thought were going to come out on top of that. But hey, we seen the wolf in the sheep's clothing. That's who Eric Adams turned out to be ultimately.
Right.
Hey,
They've got before we close out on some sports, if that's okay with you.
yeah, definitely.
They've got a pretty stacked conference or convention this week. My pastor here in Atlanta, Jamal Bryant, is up there along with his wife, Dr. Carrie Bryant. You got Stacey Abrams. You have some of the MSNBC greats, Chris Matthews for one, and it's really interesting. I'm wondering what's going to come out of that conference or convention. I hope it's some sort of action plan. I think the
What convention
president,
is this now?
say that again,
What convention is this?
the National Action Network
Oh yeah, yeah,
convention
yeah, yeah, yeah,
there in New
yeah. I thought you talking
York.
about a different event. Okay, okay, yeah. We'll
No, same event. I think it's going to be interesting to see what type of action comes out of it. And I hope there's some sort of economic plan. But we've got about a minute left, folks. It's Final Four weekend. It's also Dreamville weekend there in North Carolina. So I hope everyone has fun and stays safe. First game of the day today is Florida and Auburn at 6 o'clock. And then the next game, which will probably start around 9 or a little later, is Houston and Duke. So who do you have, Clay, in the first game, Florida or Auburn?
I have Charles Barkley's Auburn Tigers.
Wow. Wow.
Yo, he
I
loves his
think that's
Auburn.
going to be a really good game. I also have Auburn there. Then let's get to the more North Carolina connected game. Houston or Duke?
Duke. Duke.
Wow.
Yep.
I
I know
think I'll
people
have to
get
go
them.
Duke as well.
Oh, okay,
I
okay.
do. I have them going all the way in my bracket. I said that. I'm not a big hater, just a little bit of a hater. But
Yeah.
I look forward to those games
Let's
today.
talk about
And
the women now. The women.
the women, so South Carolina won yesterday against Texas. Thank you for that. And UConn won yesterday.
Mhm. Yes.
Does UCLA play today?
UCLA, no, they're out. So it's a national title game now.
Oh, that's right. It's UConn and South Carolina. So bit of a rematch there.
Yeah. So I got Dawn Staley and them girls
Of
running it
course.
back. My girl
Of course.
Dawn Staley. They're gonna run it back.
That's right. UConn knocked UCLA out yesterday by a lot. I was surprised by
Yeah,
that.
blowouts.
I've got Don Staley and the South Carolina women taking it again. Somebody said it's not just a national championship game for them, but it's their homecoming because they're always there.
Coronation. Coronation.